Warning lights flashed red across the control room. The sound of alarms filled the air. Trading Station Nexus 7 shook as its sensors picked up something deadly coming their way. Captain Zornak, a tall reptilian being with scales that changed, color based on his emotions, watched the main screen with growing fear. His scales turned from blue to sickly green as he read the data. All crew, this is Captain Zornak. Emergency alert level 5. Solar storm approaching. Radiation levels beyond safe limits. His voice crackled over the station's speakers. Workers stopped what they were doing. They looked at each other with wide eyes. Everyone knew what this meant. The station's shields began to activate automatically. Heavy metal doors slammed shut throughout the structure. Airlock sealed. The outer hull transformed as protective layers moved into place. But even with all these protections, the numbers on the screen kept rising higher and higher. "Captain," said Skritter, the science officer. Her insect eyes reflected the warning lights as she clicked nervously on her console. "The radiation levels will reach us in 3 hours. Our shields can only block 60% of the force, the rest will get through." Zornak felt his heart rate increase. His species had seen solar storms before, but nothing like this. "Send a distress signal. Emergency broadcast on all frequencies. Any ships in the area must be warned." The communications officer typed rapidly. His 4 hands moved across multiple keyboards at once. "Signal sent, Captain. All ships within 2 light years will receive the warning." Minutes passed. The station fell into an uneasy quiet as everyone prepared for what was coming. Medical teams checked supplies. Engineers reinforced critical systems. Parents gathered their young ones close. Then, the communication system beeped. An incoming message. The officer straightened up. "Sir, we have a response. The human cargo ship Star Ranger reports they are 2 light years away." "Good," Zornak said. "Tell them to turn around immediately. This storm will kill them." The officer relayed the message. But the response that came back made no sense. The human captain's voice came through the speakers. It sounded almost casual, like he was talking about the weather. "Nexus 7, this is Captain Jake Miller of the Star Ranger. We copy your situation. We'll be there in 6 hours." Zornak blinked rapidly, a sign of confusion in his species. Did he say he was coming here? To us? During the storm? The communications officer checked his equipment. "Yes, sir. The Star Ranger is heading directly toward the storm. They are not running away." The bridge crew exchanged glances. This made no sense. Human ships were known for their basic technology. Their shields were primitive compared to what the Galaxy Standard used. Even with their best equipment, humans would be cooked alive in radiation like this. Zornak opened another channel. "Captain Miller, you misunderstand. This solar storm will kill you. Your ship's shields cannot protect you. You must turn around now." A pause. Then Miller's voice again. "Thanks for the heads up, Zornak, but our sensors are reading this just fine. Looks like we're in for some weather, but nothing we can't handle." The alien captain felt dizzy. Nothing they could not handle? The radiation would be strong enough to turn carbon-based life forms into plasma. "Captain Miller, please listen to reason. The radiation levels—" "Yeah, I see the numbers," Miller interrupted. "Pretty spicy out there. Should make for good training weather. I was just telling my crew we need to run some emergency drills soon anyway." Training weather? Emergency drills? Zornak looked at his science officer. She was running calculations. On her screen, her antennae were twitching in disbelief. "Captain," she said quietly, "their ship should melt. Their crew should die instantly. They do not have protection for this." Zornak felt fear turning to concern for these foolish humans. "Captain Miller, I order you to turn back. As the senior officer in this sector, I cannot allow you to commit suicide. Your technology simply cannot—" "Look, we appreciate the concern," Miller cut in again. "But we've got this. See you in 6 hours. Star Ranger out. The communication." Channel went dead. Zornak stood frozen, staring at the blank screen. Around him, his crew looked equally confused. They had just met a species that seemed eager to fly straight into certain death. And worse, they acted like it was normal. "Keep tracking them," Zornak ordered finally. Maybe they will come to their senses and turn back. But as the hours passed, the Star Ranger kept its course. The solar storm grew stronger. The readings showed radiation levels that would kill dozens of species instantly. Yet the human ship never changed direction. It flew steadily toward the storm, toward Nexus 7, toward what every alien on the station believed was certain death. Zornak watched his crew prepare for the worst. Some prayed, some hugged loved ones, some simply worked, trying to distract themselves from the approaching doom. But all of them wondered the same thing. What kind of creatures were these humans? And why were they not afraid? The minutes stretched like hours on Nexus 7. Captain Zornak kept checking his console, hoping to see the Star Ranger changing course. The solar storm was getting closer. Its radiation waves pushed ahead like invisible giants, ready to smash anything in their path. The station's automatic systems kept adjusting shields and barriers, but even Nexus 7's advanced technology would not be enough. "Captain, the Star Ranger is still coming toward us," reported Skritter. She pulled up visual feeds of the human ship. It looked tiny against the growing storm. Skritter's compound eyes studied the data streams pouring across her screens. Their radiation exposure will be fatal in less than 3 hours. Zornak's scales flickered between orange and green, a sign of deep worry. He had seen many species die in space accidents. The void was uncaring. It took life without hesitation. But he had never seen anyone choose to fly directly into death. "Communications, open another channel to the Star Ranger." "We must try again," Zornak ordered. The communications officer nodded. His multiple hands danced across the controls once more. Static filled the room as the channel connected. They could hear activity in the background, humans moving around, talking casually, even laughing. "Star Ranger, this is Nexus 7, Captain Zornak speaking. Please respond," the alien captain said. A new voice came through this time, not Miller, but someone else. "Nexus 7, this is First Officer Ryan Gomez. What can we do for you?" Gomez sounded almost cheerful. This confused Zornak even more. "We need to speak to your captain. This is an emergency. He's busy right now, but I can help," Gomez replied. "We're just running some tests on the ship, making sure everything's ready for when we reach your position." Behind him, Zornak could hear more human voices. Someone was shouting orders about engine power. Another voice mentioned shield frequencies. They were not panicking, they were preparing. "Where is your captain?" "Why is he not speaking to us?" Zornak demanded. "Oh, he's on the observation deck," Gomez said simply, watching the storm approach. "Says it's quite a sight. Never seen one this big before. Should be educational." Educational? Zornak felt like he was talking to children who did not understand fire was hot. "You must listen to me. Your ship will be destroyed. Your crew will die horribly. Turn back now while you still can." Gomez paused. When he spoke again, his voice was calmer, more serious. "We appreciate your concern, really, but you have to understand something about us. Earth isn't exactly the safest place in the galaxy. We learned to deal with radiation early in our history. Our evolution happened during some pretty rough times. On our planet, nuclear background radiation, cosmic rays, ozone holes, all part of growing up human." Zornak's brain could not process this information. "You live with deadly radiation?" "Well, compared to this storm, it's not much," Gomez admitted. "But we prepare for worse. Every human ship trains for extreme conditions. When you come from a world where your sun occasionally throws plasma at you, where your atmosphere sometimes decides to let cosmic rays through, where your own planet has radioactive elements everywhere, you adapt." In the background, they heard Miller's voice call out, "Gomez, tell them we'll be there right on schedule, and ask if they need any supplies from our cargo hold." "You heard the captain," Gomez said. "We'll reach you in about 4 hours. Do you need anything we can bring?" Zornak was speechless. These humans were not just ignoring danger, they were offering help while flying into certain death. His science officer was frantically calculating new data on her screens. Her antennae drooped with disbelief. "Captain," Skritter whispered, showing him her calculations. Even basic radiation at their destination would fry most species' nervous systems, but they are heading directly into the heart of this storm. Their ship lacks proper shields. Their technology is primitive by any standard. Zornak cleared his throat, trying to find words that would make sense to these strange beings. Captain Miller, we cannot allow you to sacrifice yourselves. I am officially ordering you to retreat. The Galactic Safety Code Section 12, paragraph 6 states that, with all due respect, Gomez interrupted politely, you don't have jurisdiction over human vessels. We're here to help, whether you want us to or not. You will die, Zornak shouted, losing his composure. Do you not understand? This radiation will kill you. It will turn your bodies to ash. Your ship will become a tomb. Miller's voice came through now, taking over from Gomez. I appreciate the warning, I really do, but let me ask. Inside the Star Ranger, the mood was nothing like the aliens expected. The ship's halls buzzed with activity, but it was organized chaos, like a well-practiced dance. Crew members moved with purpose, calling out to each other in cheerful voices. Some laughed as they worked. Others hummed old Earth songs while checking their equipment. Lisa Torres, the chief engineer, stood in the reactor room surrounded by glowing panels and humming machinery. She ran her hands across a control surface, making small adjustments. Increase power to forward shields by 8%, she called out to her assistant. Let's see how our baby handles the extra load. In the main corridor, First Officer Ryan Gomez gathered a group of junior crew members. They looked young but eager. Listen up, everyone, this is what we train for. The radiation is going to hit us hard, but remember your procedures. Seal any areas that get breached. Keep emergency supplies handy. And most importantly, follow your training. A young ensign raised her hand. Sir, what if the shields fail completely? Gomez smiled. Then we switch to our backup plan. EVA suits for everyone, sealed compartments, and we ride it out. Just like we practiced during the Mars station drill last year, remember how boring that was? The ensign nodded, looking less worried. Yeah, we complained there was nothing to do. Well, now you get to do it for real, Gomez laughed. Won't be boring this time. Across the ship, Security Chief Marcus Bennett was running his teams through their drills. They practiced sealing breaches, handling radiation-contaminated areas, and emergency medical procedures. Bennett watched as his people pulled on heavy-duty suits designed for the most extreme conditions. Time check, he called out. 47 seconds for full suit up. That's 2 seconds faster than last time. Good work. His second-in-command, a stocky woman named Kate Phillips, adjusted her helmet. You really think we'll make it through this storm, Chief? Bennett grinned, checking her suit seals carefully. Kate, my grandpa was a uranium miner in Colorado. My mother worked cleanup at Chernobyl. My dad was a solar radiation researcher. I literally grew up swimming in radiation. This storm? It's going to be interesting, but we can handle it. On the bridge, Captain Jake Miller stood calmly at the center of command. The main screen showed the approaching storm in all its terrible beauty. Radiation readings painted rainbow-colored waves of energy. Most species would see only death in those patterns. Miller saw data points and opportunities. Helm, take us closer to the storm's edge, he ordered. Let's push the forward sensors to their limits. We don't get data like this every day. The helmsman, a veteran pilot named Steve Chang, nodded. Aye, Captain. Taking us in. He manipulated the controls with confidence that came from years of experience. Throughout the medical bay, Dr. Kelly Brooks prepared her team. They sorted supplies, double-checked emergency protocols, and practiced treating theoretical radiation injuries. Young medical officer Tim Watson organized anti-radiation medications with careful precision. Remember, Dr. Brooks told her team, we're expecting 0 casualties. This is a training exercise that happens to be real. We've handled worse in simulations. Back in engineering, Lisa Torres was pushing systems to their limits. She wanted to know exactly what the Star Ranger could handle. Reactor at 120%, she announced. Stabilizers holding. Shields responding within expected parameters. Her assistant, a man named John Rivera, looked nervous. Chief, we're already running hot. The storm will push us past safety margins. Safety margins are for peacetime, Torres replied, eyes gleaming with professional excitement. This is training day. We need to know where our real limits are. She patted the reactor housing. This old girl has surprised us before. Let's see what she's really made of. In the crew quarters, off-duty personnel prepared in their own ways. Some wrote messages to loved ones, not final goodbyes but updates on their adventure. Others gathered in small groups, sharing stories of surviving similar challenges. A few even started a betting pool on how much radiation they would absorb before reaching Nexus 7. The ship's sensors kept feeding data to every station. The radiation levels climbed steadily. When the readings hit numbers that would panic most, spacefaring species the Star Ranger's crew barely noticed. When the measurements crossed into what the galactic standard called instant death territory, the humans just adjusted their equipment and kept working. On Nexus 7, the alien crew watched their sensors tracking the human ship. They saw the Star Ranger not fleeing like any sane vessel would. Instead, it performed complex maneuvers. It tested systems. It ran diagnostics. The humans were deliberately putting stress on their ship to see how it would perform. "They are insane," whispered Skritter, watching the readings. "They are deliberately flying through the most dangerous parts of the storm." "No," said Zornak quietly. "They are testing their limits. They want to know what they can survive." "Captain," Miller's voice suddenly crackled over the ship's intercom system. "Attention all crew. We're now entering extreme radiation territory. By alien standards, we died 3 minutes ago. Since we're all clearly still here, let's continue with standard protocols. Damage control teams stand by. Medical, prepare for possible cases of nausea. Everyone else, remember your training, this is what we do." Cheers erupted in various sections of the ship, not screams of fear but shouts of excitement. This was what the crew had signed up for. This was the reason they joined the deep space. Service. Adventure. Challenge. The chance to prove that humans belonged among the stars. Lisa Torres initiated another diagnostic sweep of the ship's systems. Her readings showed strain on the forward shields and minor fluctuations in the power grid. By alien standards, these would be critical failures. By human standards, they were within acceptable parameters. "All systems green," she reported cheerfully. "We're reading 30% over normal radiation levels, but nothing our lovely ship can't handle." In the observation lounge, several crew members pressed their faces against the reinforced windows. The cosmic storm was breathtaking. Waves of radiation painted the void in colors that no camera could capture. Lightning made of pure energy danced between charged particles. It was deadly, beautiful, and awesome. "Makes the Aurora Borealis look like a nightlight," someone commented. The Star Ranger pushed forward through the storm. Its humans laughed and worked and prepared for whatever came next. They were not fleeing death. They were chasing it, dancing with it, daring it to do its worst. And in the back of every crew member's mind was the same thought. They could not wait to see the aliens' faces when they arrived. The Star Ranger emerged from the radiation storm like a ship sailing out of fire. On Nexus 7, the aliens watched their sensors in complete disbelief. The human vessel should have been a molten wreck. Instead, it approached their station with steady grace. The hull showed some scorch marks and minor damage, but the ship was very much alive, very much functional. Captain Zornak stared at the readings. "This is impossible. Their radiation exposure exceeded fatal levels by a factor of 10. They should not exist anymore." "But they do, sir," Skritter replied, her antennae trembling. "And they are requesting permission to dock." On the communication screen, Captain Jake Miller appeared. He looked remarkably well for someone who had just passed through cosmic death. His hair was slightly messed up, and he had what appeared to be a coffee stain on his uniform, but he was smiling. "Nexus 7, this is the Star Ranger. Permission to dock? We've got a full crew ready to help with your emergency repairs." Zornak found his voice. "Captain Miller, we read severe damage to your vessel. Radiation contamination throughout your ship. Your crew must be suffering severe." "Oh, the coffee machine broke," Miller interrupted. "Spilled hot coffee all over the place during some of those harder turns. Almost tragic, really. Coffee is serious business on a human ship. Besides that, we're all good." The alien captain felt his mind refusing to process this information. "Your ship flew through a solar storm. The radiation, Was pretty intense, yes? Miller agreed easily. Lost 3% of our forward shield efficiency. Engineering thinks we might need to replace some filter units in about 6 months. Minor wear and tear. Now about those repairs. You need? Dr. Brooks's voice could be heard in the background. Captain, can I report something? We had 7 cases of mild nausea, 2 headaches. Johnson in Deck 3 got a small burn when he touched a hot surface during the turbulence. Total injuries. 1 coffee burn and 1 bruised knee where someone tripped. Miller nodded to the alien captain. See? Nothing we couldn't handle. Now, your station shows significant damage on Deck 17. We can help with that if you give us docking clearance. The Nexus 7 crew stood frozen. They had prepared for death, prepared for disaster, prepared for tragedy. They had not prepared for humans acting like nothing had happened. Captain, Zornak said slowly, the radiation levels outside our station are still lethal. The storm may be passing, but dangerous levels remain. If you exit your ship now, we'll be fine, Miller assured him. We've got our heavy-duty EVA suits. These beauties are rated for extreme conditions. We use them when we need to do repairs. In radiation zones, solar proximity, or inside nebulae. They're built for the rough stuff. Zornak looked to his engineering chief, a multi-limbed creature named Gorthak. Can they help us? Wait. Lisa Torres stood at the airlock with her repair team. Through the reinforced window they could see the cosmic storm still raging. Radiation danced between stars like ghostly fire. The void itself seemed angry. Torres checked her team's equipment one last time. Their suits looked simple compared to alien technology. Just layers of fabric, metal, and basic shielding. No complicated computer systems. No active defense fields. Just human engineering and determination. Remember the drill, Torres said to her team. Move deliberately. Keep your radiation meters visible. Watch each other's backs. We've trained for this countless times. The only difference is that this time it's real. Engineering team member John Rivera cracked his knuckles nervously. Chief, these readings show radiation that would turn most biological matter into soup. Are we sure our suits can handle this? We're about to find out, Torres replied with a grin. Just think of it as extreme surf testing, but for your DNA. The alien crew watched from the safety of the station's observation deck. Skritter had multiple monitors set up tracking radiation levels. Every sensor screamed warnings. Even the station's automated systems were begging them not to open the airlock under these conditions. This is madness, declared Gorthak, the station's engineering chief. Those humans will dissolve. Their primitive suits offer no protection against this level of radiation. Captain Zornak stood silently. He had been watching the humans since they arrived. They moved with purpose, not panic. They treated deadly danger like a routine challenge. Part of him wanted to see what would happen. Part of him dreaded watching another species die. Nexus 7 were ready to cycle the airlock, Torres announced over the comm. Opening outer doors in 3, 2, 1. The massive doors slid open. Cosmic radiation poured in like floodwaters. The station's sensors went half crazy trying to measure the energy levels. It was like opening a door into a furnace made of invisible fire. Torres stepped out first. Her movements were steady and confident. The radiation counter on her suit immediately started clicking rapidly. The alien observers gasped as the readings reached numbers that should have been lethal. Torres to station. We're outside. Readings are spicy but manageable. Beginning assessment of the breach. The repair team moved across the station's exterior with practiced ease. They used magnetic boots and guide wires, just like they had trained for countless times. The visual of humans calmly working in conditions that should kill them was something no alien would ever forget. Tom Watson, the medical officer who had joined the EVA team, floated near the breach. He examined the damage with his handheld scanner. Torres, we've got about a 20-meter tear in the hull. Standard carbon scoring. Looks like a micrometeor impact worsened by the storm's energy. Copy that, Watson. Team spread out. Set up the containment field. Let's see if we can patch this in one go. The other repair team members moved to positions around the breach. They unfurled what looked like a metallic mesh net, primitive by alien standards, but remarkably effective. As they attached it to the station's hull, the material began to seal against the metal. Inside, Skritter was frantically recording everything. The radiation is cooking them alive. Their cellular structure should be breaking down, but they're still working. Perhaps, Zornak said slowly, their structure is harder to break than we assumed. Meanwhile, Torres had pulled out her plasma welder. It was a simple tool by galactic standards, just a focused energy beam for metal bonding. But in her experienced hands, it became a precision instrument. She began sealing the edges of the patch, working methodically despite being bathed in deadly radiation. The station's medical monitors, still tracking the human team's vital signs, showed data that made no sense. Heart rates were elevated but steady. Brain activity remained normal. Cellular damage rates were surprisingly low. Dr. Ploxar, watching the medical readouts, kept adjusting his equipment, certain it must be malfunctioning. Their bodies are absorbing radiation at levels that should destroy their nervous systems, he explained to his staff. Yet their readings show only minor cellular stress. It's as if they're adapted to this environment. Outside, Ryan Gomez's voice crackled over the radio. Torres, we've got an anomaly in Sector 7. Another potential weak point. Need a second opinion. On my way, Torres responded, maneuvering herself around the station's curve with ease. As she moved, alien spectators could see her radiation badge. It should have been black from overexposure. Instead, it showed a deep orange, dangerous but not fatal. The repair work continued for nearly 2 hours. During that time, the human team performed tasks that alien rescue crews would have deemed impossible. They welded in places where radiation should have overwhelmed their suits' protection. They handled equipment with bare hands through their protective gloves in conditions where alien suits would have forced them to use remote tools. At one point, Torres actually tapped her hammer against a stubborn piece of plating. Sometimes, she muttered to herself, the old ways are the best ways. Inside the station, the atmosphere had shifted from panic to fascination. Even the most critical alien engineers had to admit, the humans were not just surviving, they were succeeding. The repairs were crude by galactic standards but remarkably effective. These Deathworlders had their own way of doing things. Watson reported regularly on team vitals. Radiation exposure levels are reading high but stable. No immediate symptoms of radiation sickness. Team reports some tingling in extremities, but nothing concerning. Team reports being hungry, added another voice with a laugh. Can we order pizza after this is done? The casual attitude stunned the alien observers. These beings were making jokes while swimming in radiation that should have killed them hours ago. They were treating this extreme emergency like a challenging workday. Finally, after 2 hours and 17 minutes, Torres gave the signal. Station secured, breach patched, weak points reinforced. We're ready to come back in. As the repair team entered the airlock for decontamination, the aliens rushed to the windows to see their condition. They expected to see radiation-burned husks of biological matter. Instead, they saw humans removing their helmets, shaking their sweat-dampened hair, and complaining about how long the decontamination process takes. I really could go for that pizza now, Rivera joked. Dr. Brooks was waiting with her medical team to examine the EVA crew. She ran every test available, her face growing more confused with each reading. Elevated white blood cell counts, mild cellular stress markers, but nothing critical. You guys are basically fine. Torres high-fived her team. Good work, everybody, just another day at the office. Zornak approached Torres directly. He had seen many species face death. Some met it with bravery, some with panic, but he had never seen any species treated as mundane. Your team performed miracles today, he said formally. Torres wiped grease from her hands with a cloth. Not miracles, just good maintenance work. When you grow up on a planet that's constantly trying to kill you, you learn to handle some heat. She glanced at the radiation readings still displayed on nearby screens. Numbers that had terrified an entire station now seemed routine to her. Though I have to say this storm is pretty impressive. We should compile a report for the Galactic database. I bet a lot of species would find this educational. The alien captain stared at her. Educational. These humans had treated the storm as a learning experience. They had faced cosmic death and come back asking to document it for their research. For the first time, Zornak understood something fundamental about humanity. They did not survive danger by avoiding it. They survived by embracing it, understanding it, and making it part of their normal routine. This was not bravery. This was not foolhardiness. This was simply how humans were built. The observation deck of Nexus 7 buzzed with confused alien scientists. They had gathered every piece of equipment they owned to analyze what they had just witnessed. Scritider's compound eyes moved rapidly as she reviewed the data for the 20th time. Her lab coat was wrinkled from nervous fidgeting. "The readings cannot be correct," she muttered, recalculating the radiation exposure levels. "No carbon-based life form can survive this. It violates basic physics, it violates biology, it violates everything we know about how the universe works." Dr. Ploxar floated beside her, his jellyfish-like body pulsing with agitation. "I have examined their bodies. Strange. Very strange. Yes, they show cellular damage, but at rates far below what we would see in any known species. Even our most radiation-resistant bacteria would have died faster than these humans." Zornak entered the observation deck. His scales had moved through every color spectrum and finally settled on a muddy brown, the shade his species turned when they could not process new information. He held a data pad containing the full report from the human repair mission. "Captain," said Gorthak, the engineering chief, "I have analyzed their repair work. It is crude. It uses methods we abandoned centuries ago. By our standards, they have failed to properly seal the breach." "Yet the breach is sealed," Zornak replied quietly. "Their primitive methods worked when our advanced systems could not even attempt the task." Gorthak's multiple arms gestured wildly. "But sir, how? Their suits have no active protection, no energy shields, no molecular barriers, just fabric, metal, and SC." 4 hours after the repairs, Captain Zornak asked for a private meeting with Captain Miller. They sat in the station's diplomatic lounge, a room designed to accommodate dozens of different species. Miller had brought coffee, real Earth coffee, strong enough to wake the dead as he described it. "I need to understand," Zornak began, his scales shifting between colors as he struggled to find words. "How can your species treat such danger as routine? Is it simply natural adaptation, or something more?" Miller took a long sip of his coffee before answering. "Both, I think. See, on Earth, everything tries to kill you. The weather, the wildlife, the geography, even the invisible stuff like radiation and microbes. But humans, we're stubborn. We don't just survive. We thrive in these conditions." He leaned forward, warming to the topic. "My hometown of Denver sits a mile above sea level. We get more cosmic radiation there than at sea level. People have lived there for generations. Healthy, long-lived generations. We don't think about the radiation. It's just part of life." Zornak considered this. "But your technology, your ships, they seem so basic." Miller chuckled. "Basic? Maybe. Reliable? Absolutely. We learned early that complex systems fail under stress. Simple solutions endure. Our EVA suits are tough because they're simple. They don't need computers to protect us. They don't need AI to function. They're just well-built barriers between us and the void." The alien captain gestured to the window where the last remnants of the solar storm danced harmlessly. "You flew directly into that storm, not around it, into it. Why?" "Because it was the fastest route to you," Miller said simply. "And because we could. Fear shouldn't dictate your path. Understanding should. We understood the risks, prepared for them, and executed our plan. The radiation was just another factor to consider." Zornak's scales brightened to a deep blue, the color of dawning comprehension. "On my world, we evolved in caves, in darkness. We built civilizations only in the safest places. We expanded across planets only when we could bring that safety with us. Protection first, exploration second." "See, that's where we're different," Miller explained. "Humans explored because we had to. Our ancestors left Africa and spread across Earth while facing ice ages, predators, and harsh climates. We didn't wait for safety. We brought determination, and learn to adapt. A chime announced Torres's arrival. She entered carrying a datapad and looking excited. Captain, permission to share our findings with Captain Zornak? Go ahead, Lisa. Torres energized immediately, pulling up schematics on her pad. We've been analyzing your station's systems. They're amazing, far more sophisticated than anything we have. But they're also fragile. You rely heavily on automated protection systems, active shields, remote-operated repairs, safety algorithms that prevent certain actions. She showed comparison data. When we arrived, your station was crippled because the automated systems deemed conditions too dangerous for any action. While you waited for safety, the damage was spreading. Our approach? We overrode our safety protocols and got the job done. Zornak shifted uncomfortably. You disregard safety protocols. Not disregard, reassess, Miller corrected. Every protocol has a breaking point. The trick is knowing when following the rules becomes more dangerous than breaking them. During the solar storm, your protocols prevented action. Our protocols adapted to the situation. Torres added, your engineering is beautiful, precise, perfect in ideal conditions. But space isn't ideal. It's messy, unpredictable, and hostile. Our tech might look primitive, but it keeps working when perfect systems fail. The conversation continued for hours. Zornak learned that humans had developed their own philosophy about survival. They called it controlled risk management, understanding danger thoroughly enough to navigate it safely. While other species built walls against danger, humans built skills to work within danger. When we first met Galactic Council species, Miller explained, they called us Deathworlders and warned others about us. They thought we were violent because we came from such a harsh world. But they misunderstood. We're not violent. We're decisive. We're not reckless. We're experienced. We've simply adapted to handle what scares others. Torres pulled up casualty statistics. In our first year of space exploration, our accident rate was actually lower than the galactic average. Turns out, when you're used to your environment, trying to kill you, you become really good at safety. We prepare for worst-case scenarios because we've lived through them. Zornak absorbed this information, his mind expanding to incorporate these new perspectives. So when you see danger, you see opportunity? Not exactly, Miller clarified. We see reality. Danger is just information. The solar storm told us what equipment to use, what routes to take, what precautions to implement. It wasn't an enemy. It was data we needed to process. A station-wide announcement interrupted them. The galactic news feed had picked up Nexus 7's emergency broadcast about the solar storm rescue. The story was spreading quickly through the communication networks. Other stations were calling in, wanting to verify that humans had actually performed repairs during an active solar storm. Captain Zornak, Miller said thoughtfully, I think this event might change some perceptions about humanity. We're willing to participate in more joint operations if your government is interested. Emergency response, disaster relief, high risk, maintenance. These are areas where our approach might complement yours. The alien captain's scales shifted to a contemplative purple. After today, many beings will want to study humans, to understand how you do what seems impossible. The Galactic Council will need to reassess many of their assumptions. Torres smiled. Just remember, we're not special or superhuman. We're just the product of our environment. Any species that evolved on Earth would develop similar adaptations. We're hardy because Earth made us that way. As the meeting concluded, Miller made one final observation. You call us Deathworlders like it's a warning label. But maybe it should be a qualification. Who better to handle deep space emergencies than people who evolved surrounded by danger? Who better to push the boundaries of exploration than those already comfortable with risk? Zornak stood, his scales now bright green, the color of acceptance and understanding. Captain Miller, I believe today marks a turning point in human-alien relations. You have shown us that what we perceive as weakness might actually be strength. Your primitive methods succeeded where our advanced systems failed. The two captains shook hands, a gesture Miller had introduced to replace the traditional alien greeting of scale-to-scale contact. There was mutual respect now, forged through shared danger and successful cooperation. As Miller prepared to return to his ship, Zornak asked one more question. What will you do now? Miller grinned. First, we're going to have that pizza my crew's been wanting. Then we'll complete our cargo delivery to the Outer Rim. And knowing humans, we'll probably volunteer for the next impossible rescue mission that comes along. After all, we're Deathworlders. It's what we do. The term Deathworlder, no longer, carried mockery or fear. For the first time, aliens began to understand it might mean survivor instead. The news spread across the galaxy like ripples in a cosmic pond. Nexus 7's detailed report reached the Galactic Council within 24 hours. The council consisted of representatives from 47 different species, and for the first time in recorded history, they were united in their shock. Ambassador Vexnor, a crystalline being whose body reflected light in symphonies of color, read the report aloud. The human vessel Star Ranger maintained full functionality throughout a Class 7 solar storm. Their crew performed external repairs while exposed to radiation levels, measuring. He paused, unable to believe the numbers he was reading. 5,000 rads per hour, finished Ambassador Cleet, a floating gas cloud entity. Fatal for 68 of the 69 participating council species. The council chamber erupted with translated voices expressing disbelief, concern, and curiosity. Only the Varzan representative, a being made of pure energy, remained silent. They had interacted with humans before and knew this report was not exaggeration. On Nexus 7, the effects of the incident spread through every level of the station. Alien crew members who had cowered in fear now sought out human crew for instruction. The station's engineers abandoned their cautious approaches and began studying human repair methods. Even the most advanced beings admitted that simple solutions sometimes worked better than complex ones. Dr. Ploxar published his findings to the Galactic Medical Database. Within hours, the report became the most downloaded document in medical history. Universities across the galaxy added human biology to their curriculum. What had been dismissed as primitive evolution became fascinating adaptation. In the station's cafeteria, Torres sat with a group of young alien engineers. They had abandoned their own food synthesizers to try human cooking. Pizza, Torres had learned, was popular across species lines. But how do you calculate risk without AI support? Asked a four-armed Kethni named Prax. Your ships have minimal computational assistance. Torres chewed thoughtfully. We use pattern recognition from experience. Your AI calculates millions of scenarios. We draw from millions of lessons learned through survival. Both methods work, but ours adapts faster when all the calculations say